Hello everybody, in today's video I'm going to try out alcohol markers. This is something I haven't done before, so I wanted to show off me using them and experimenting with them and maybe telling you about my experience, and if you're a new artist like I am, if you would enjoy using these here. So as you can see, I've placed had a quick little go trying out alcohol markers just before recording this video, because I was sitting there trying them out, like, this is interesting. I thought, why not document my experience using them? And so I thought, okay, I'll stop with the little swatches I was doing here and turn on the camera and tell you my thoughts and discussions before going too far with it. And I would also use this for me as future reference, so I can remember how they sort of work and stuff if I don't come back to them in a long time, or just look back on and see some of the mistakes I'm doing as I use them more and more and I get better with these things. So like I said, I'm completely new at this. I've never used them before. The only bits that you've seen that I've done here on the paper is put on these little swatches, and you can see here the first thing I realized is they go straight through the paper. That's the first time I flicked over the page, so I'm going to put in a bit of other paper in here and use this so they go onto here and soak into that instead of soaking all the way through my sketchbook. So that is one immediate learning thing you'll need to know with these alcohol markers, because like any sort of marker I've ever tested out in the past or when I was younger was sort of like the felt tip pens you had at school when you were a kid, or at least I did anyway, and I thought they were sort of like a use like that, and I didn't expect them to immediately soak through the paper there and go into the other pages. So that's one of the things you want to be aware if you're using alcohol markers. But I must say, really interesting just with these little tests I'm doing here. So I drew up these quick little portraits of the heads here so I had something to use them with rather than just swatches. I need to have a quick go at what they were like before I go into a full piece, because that is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to go into a full piece using these alcohol markers and seeing how interesting they are to play around with and use, and if they're going to be something I'm going to use in the future, or if this is sort of where I'm at with these things. So let's see how this stuff starts coming out. So one thing I noticed as I was doing my test and experiment here is I also brought this little pack of markers here that were separate from that big lot I brought of the 24. This one here is just ones that are based on skin tone, and one thing I noticed with these ones is they're a little bit more expensive. The other alcohol markers were sort of a cheap set, and that's why I thought I'd try them out and see how much I enjoy them and if I would start using them in the future. Is that this one here was a more expensive set, and you got more of an exclusive amount of them, and they were focused to one thing. Like this one here is focused just on skin tones, and I thought that's a great set to buy, as I want to draw characters and stuff, so I'm going to need some skin tones in there. And these ones here actually have a brush tip on them. So one thing with markers is a lot of them have dual sides on them, whereas one side is like the chisel, which what you'd find on like a highlighter pen if you're using in like office work and stationery, that sort of thing. They have a very end like that, which is called a chisel tip. And then the other one, they either have a thing called a bullet tip, which is your standard sort of like felt pen or vivid marker, something like that. And then you also have one with a brush tip, which is basically just shaped like a regular tip, but it has a nice bit of flex and bend in it, and you've got, like as the name implies, a brush on the tip, and gives you something more interesting and useful to play around with and getting different line variations or thicknesses. And I must say, just on this quick test I use here, and I only have this lot here in the brush tip, is I really do like the brush tips. They're very, very nice and interesting for me to use. Now, it's not going to, of course, be for everyone, but it is a awesome and great thing that I really enjoyed with that. So be note that if you're getting into markers, is that they have differences in them, and the bullet and brush tip is one big difference. So maybe buy a small pack of each to see what you enjoy. So one other thing that is unique about alcohol markers is that some sets come with a thing called a colorless blender, and this here is an alcohol marker that has no color in it, and I'm assuming it is just straight alcohol in it there. So, and it's supposed to be used for mixing together. Now, like I said, I'm new to this process and I don't know how these things work, so I just went in here and tried it out. So one thing I noticed is that it was starting to make the paper go weird and the colors go sort of strange, so I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing wrong here. Maybe you could tell me in the comments if you have more knowledge of this, and I'd be very grateful to know how to work this a little bit better, because I was sitting here going, this is strange, it's sort of just wrecking the paper. And so maybe one thing that it might be is that I've waited for these to sort of completely dry, and then I'm trying to mix them together and it's sort of creating this weird effect, and I have to place it, I use the colorless blender as I'm going to sort of put them down straight after. So I quickly tested this theory, and I came down here with two colors and tried to blend them together as quick as I can after placing them down on the page. So two sort of the same color, but I wanted to try blend them together to see if you can get an effect. So I know one thing that alcohol markers are supposed to be very good at is blending together, and I came in with this colorless blender and I was still having this sort of effect of it going strangely through the paper. So actually, just looking upon this, maybe one thing is the paper. Maybe you need a certain type of paper for this, so it'd be interesting to play around with that. But if you guys have any tips, you tell me in the comments, that'd be great to let me know, and I can hopefully improve on this as I go forward in the future. So now I've had a bit of a play around and figured some things out with using the alcohol markers and sort of understanding a little bit of how they work. I wanted to get into a piece and do a proper piece and see if I can learn more from the actual process. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to be drawing a picture that I'm going to do in full color with our alcohol markers, and this will hopefully teach me to use them a little bit better, figure out some things along the way. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to draw a tavern woman here, a sort of a nice fantasy style tavern woman, you know, your generic sort of girl you see serving you drinks in a game of Dungeons and Dragons or in a animated cartoon, something similar to that. I just really felt the urge to draw something and use these alcohol markers in a proper way and see what it's like in a full piece rather than the little tests I was doing in the sketchbook beforehand, and make a bit more of a better judgment once I've completed a full piece. And this here is going to be the sketch to do this, so we can come in and fully check out our piece and use it as something to work with. So that's what I'm going to do here, is paint up this, this tavern woman, and we'll go into our colouring in the next step. Okay, so now I have our tavern woman all drawn and then inked in. I'm going to finally start the proper colouring process, and I'm going to try hard at this and try and really put my full effort into it so I can really get the full effect of what I should be doing with these alcohol markers. And in some of my previous videos, I have said that most of my I'm still a sort of a beginner artist, and I want to really step up my art skills. This is the whole reason why I'm putting all my art on YouTube, is hopefully I can inspire some people, but also help me improve my art over the years. It's something that I've always wanted to be a lot better at, and one thing to push me forward and really do that is to put it out there on YouTube, and it forces me to release a video to you guys, but also most importantly practice my drawing more often than I was before I started posting it on YouTube, because I also paint miniatures as well, and so I spend a lot of time doing that, and I'm really happy with how I paint my miniatures. But one thing I always neglected was my art. I always loved doing art, done art far longer than I ever painted miniatures, and I wanted to step that up to the next level. And when I was painting miniatures, a lot of people said I was getting really good really fast, and that was by putting out videos on YouTube, because I wanted to document my entire process and really show myself sort of progressing, and it actually helped me do it a lot faster than what I probably would have naturally if I wasn't doing YouTube, and have something there to push me and have people here who enjoy my work and want to see me put out more, so it encourages me to do it more and get better and better. And I wanted to do that with my artwork, and people were on board with that, which is really great of my audience, that they wanted to see me improve in other areas as well. So doing that sort of promise to myself and to the people that wanted to see this, and so I wanted to come in and do that and this is exactly what I'm doing here. So I'm also trying to push myself with other mediums that I've never tried before in the exact same way, to see if there's something awesome and new in the art world, because I've only very much stuck to colored pencils, and since I've been a kid, so I wanted to try out some of these other mediums in the future as well. I'm going to be trying out some other ones too. And so one of the things I noticed with alcohol markers is they give off very great and vibrant colors and saturation. They really, to me, make me feel like they look like something out of a anime or cartoon. Their colors are really punchy and they mix together well. You don't see too many lines in them because they sort of mix together, and I think that's an awesome effect. Definitely something I need to work on, as you can plainly probably tell if you're better at art than I am. You can probably immediately tell. One thing I did actually pick up on notice, especially when I was doing this big piece here, is that alcohol markers have a lot of bleeding effect. So I ended up by very lightly touching my alcohol markers to the paper, and they sort of bled out a little bit. So that's something I'm not used to. I don't know if that's a form of the medium itself, or if I'm doing something wrong. Like, one thing that I actually suspect that I could be doing wrong is maybe there's a special type of paper or sketchbook or something that you could use that could really help with the whole alcohol marker medium itself. Maybe that is something I need to look into. So if you do know of one, or how to better improve it just on sort of regular paper, please let me know down in the comments. Like I said, I'm a sort of a beginner artist, and especially in terms of experimenting out with these other things. I do definitely want to try out some other mediums as well. Like I said, I painted miniatures, so I actually deal with quite a lot of just acrylic paint, so that could maybe something I could try. I've always painted miniatures, but I've never actually really painted too many actual paintings with acrylic paint, so maybe I can try that out. I know there's watercolors and gouache, stuff I know nothing about that I really want to dive into, just like this with our alcohol markers. So if that sounds interesting to you guys, please let me know that you would be interested in this, and if you could give me some pointers, that would be a really great help too. But as you can see here, the piece is coming out really, really great. I'm really actually surprisingly happy with it, except for that bleeding effect sort of scaring me a little bit, so I'm just practicing how that is. But like I said, I'm probably doing something a little bit wrong here. One other thing that, while doing our markers here, is that I wasn't sure what could be the best way to do them, whether I should go from the darker colors up to the lighter colors, or from the lighter colors working down to the dark. What I think I ended up by doing was I chose sort of like the in-between or lighter color, and then I went over it with the darker color because I was a little bit scared of what was going to mix or blend or go crazy. So I thought if I went with sort of like how I do in miniature painting, I start out with sort of a light to mid tone of the color and go up or down. But with alcohol markers, I quickly realized pretty much immediately, of course, you can't really go up too much in color and brightness, because the alcohol markers are going to mix and probably muddy it up a little bit. So I went with sort of the brighter color I was feeling of like at the time, and then coming in with a darker color over top to do in those shadows. But if you have a better technique, or you know of even another video on YouTube that could really help me out, that'd be really great to let me know, and I would be very interested to try this whole scenario out again. I've gotten a little bit more practice in here, and I can compare my results to from now, my little dabble in the medium and trying out my very first time, and seeing what it could be like in a lot longer down the track when I've gotten a full grasp of how alcohol markers work. But like I said, I'm really enjoying the colors, the very bright and vibrant colors that these things have. They are really great. But with all that, I think we've come to the end of our painting in our Tavern Maiden here with our alcohol markers. So let's see how the final piece came out in those nice little glamour shots. And so there we have it. That there is my first dive into alcohol markers in my art journey to become a better artist. So I hope this video has been helpful for you guys, or interesting to see how my art is progressing, and whether you have some advice for me in the future, or suggesting some other cool art mediums I can try out to see what I really enjoy and how I can improve my art. So As always, guys, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I can't wait to see you all in the next video.